It's the most blessed day of all, NBA Draft Lottery Day, and I'll explain why today can either be the greatest day or a disaster for the New Orleans Pelicans this offseason. Today's actually really important, maybe more so than you realize. Let's get into it in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pelicans, your daily New Orleans Pelicans podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On Pelicans, the daily podcast covering your favorite team, the New Orleans Pelicans and NBA, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, available wherever you get your podcasts and available on YouTube. I'm your host, Pelicans Insider, credential member of the media, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter, here with y'all on this Tuesday, NBA Draft Lottery Day, and I am excited because today is such a big day, and we're going to get into that in the first segment of today's show. We'll get into the odds, how the Pelicans can move up, exactly how the lottery works to a certain degree in the second segment. And there is a doomsday scenario for New Orleans. Very small, but we got to acknowledge that it exists. We'll take a look at what that is in the third segment of today's show. But it's going to be all positive. That's likely not going to happen. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, on YouTube as well. Tell a friend about the show. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, all of that good stuff. Leave a 5-star review with a comment, which you can do on Spotify now. And leave a comment down below on YouTube if you ever want to help promote the show. More comments, only a good thing. And today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by PrizePicks. Check out PrizePicks.com. Use promo code NBA or go to your app store and download the app today. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. So it is NBA Draft Lottery Day. Right now, the Pelicans have the 8th best odds in this one. Could move into the top 4. Could fall a little bit too. If they fall too far, that's nothing good. We'll get into all that specifics in the next 2 segments. But here's why today is a really important day for New Orleans, because a team that made the playoffs shouldn't really have a lottery pick like this. Shouldn't even have one that's kind of this good. Normally you're maybe 14, 13, something like those lines, right? Or 15, 16 if you're in the playoffs. Being able to kind of just move up, have decent odds at it, to be able to add a talented player is not usually afforded to teams this good. Well, the team's improving this much, I should say, right? I wouldn't call this team world beaters necessarily. They did lose to the Phoenix Suns, who were then just completely smacked by Dallas in Game 7, and probably the worst Game 7 performance we've ever seen. But this team is also getting, so other than adding talent, right, this team is already getting a little bit expensive. With the Zion extension, basically after next season, right? There's the Zion extension, which we assume right now that he's going to sign. There'll be a CJ extension as well, probably a Larry Nance extension too. You've got to make a decision. You could pay Jackson Hayes money. You want to add a player or two in free agency using what little room you have, and they're pushing the luxury tax because of that. You know, getting expensive means often for small market teams, you start to break those teams up, and once you do that, you usually go through a rebuild. Well, we don't want to see that here, right? David Griffin has talked, and the quote is about having, quote, sustainable success. That's the type of thing they want to see here in New Orleans. Well, this lottery pick, potentially in the top 4 or even just at 8th overall, kind of represents that sustainable success. Getting cheap talent on rookie deals, and the way it works in the NBA, because I know we have a lot of new listeners, is basically your first 4 years, if you're a first-round pick, are team-controlled based on a rookie wage scale. You can get up to 120% of that rookie wage scale. But for a guy who's taken like 8th overall, that's like $5, $6, $7 million per year. For like the life of his deal, it goes up every year a little bit. But that's cheap, right? If the guy can be a starter or your 6th man off the bench by year 3, well, then you've got him on year 3 and year 4 at well below market value than they'd receive if they were a free agent, meaning you're getting production at a lower cost. Well, when you have a salary cap, when you have a luxury tax that can be punitive and hurt teams, yeah, that's a really good thing to have. Look at the Boston Celtics, right? Higher payroll in the league. And look at them with the Williamses on that team. Robert Williams is the eventual replacement basically for Al Horford and everything that he does, right? And you saw Grant Williams be their hero in Game 7 against the Milwaukee Bucks. Both those guys are playing key roles and on their rookie deals. If they were getting paid 15, to $20 million per year, the Celtics wouldn't be able to afford them and have them on that roster. So getting guys on their rookie deal who can grow into starters, grow into key players while not getting paid that much, sucks for the labor, but it's important for the NBA. Even Phoenix, right? Even though they got bounced out, we're not looking at them too happily right now, right? Look at the Cams, Cam Payne and Cam Johnson. They drafted Cam Johnson. He's a young guy who's playing well and is outperforming his contract. Cam Payne was a young guy that got on a below-average deal, basically as a rookie and not playing well after bouncing around the league. Brought him in, now he's playing well for them. And it's one of the reasons they were able to add Chris Paul after the bubble, because they had those guys on cheaper deals. That's an important thing, and the Jazz are an example of not having these options, right? We keep repeating this offseason that the Jazz need to do something. They need to trade Rudy Gobert. They need to blow it up, right? You've got to choose between Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. Well, they don't have anything in the wings, right? Like, they don't have anything waiting to come help them, which is why they're going to probably run it back, because they don't want to go through a rebuild, but they can't just go, all right, we'll get rid of one of these guys because we got their replacement right away. They're not going to get a good return unless it's a rebuild kind of approach for either of those guys. And so they're going to run it back with a bad team that's never going to win it. Not a bad team. They're going to run it back with a team that's probably never going to win a title. Simple as that. And it'd be great if they had those young players ready to step up, right? We know their owner's doing some things there. Maybe he wants to save some money. He's like, look, this team isn't worth paying the luxury tax for. Well, if you had those rookies, you go, okay, cool, let's get rid of one of them. Shave some salary and let's elevate this young guy who's playing well to a starting role or to a bigger role, whatever that might be. And New Orleans has the ability to do that with this draft pick. And that's why it's so important, right? This is not the best overall draft from top to bottom, but there's some good projects players-wise, high upside that need a lot of work between 5 and 10, who have really high ceilings, kind of, not boom or bust necessarily, but if you hit on those picks, oh man, that fixes a lot of that long-term sustainable success problem for New Orleans. It's exactly what this team needs when thinking about their long-term future. We had our NBA mock draft, right? I took Benedict Mathurin out of Arizona. If all goes well, could you see him replacing CJ McCollum in some capacity? Even if it's not the equivalent? Yeah, that's a big thing. Plus, with this pick, it either jumping up or staying at 8 and not losing this pick because this pick could go to Memphis, you have the ability to trade it if that's the route that they want to go. If they go, oh no, we see a chance to win a title the next 3 seasons, let's go get our dude right now, let's trade this pick. They could do that. And so it gives them all sorts of flexibility for a team that normally wouldn't have any right now. And so this is a great position to be in if you're New Orleans, and why today is so important for the long-term future of this team, not next year. It probably doesn't impact that much unless they trade it. So it could, I guess. But long-term future, hitting on this guy that you draft is massive for the franchise if they become an all-star level kind of guy, or even a really quality starter. So let's look at their odds coming up here in the next segment. Third segment, the doomsday scenario and what that looks like. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Before we get to that, though, today's episode of Locked On Pelicans brought to you by PrizePicks. All right, Pelicans fans, are you looking for a daily fantasy option for the NBA? Then you need to try the award-winning app PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. I love this, and I know you will too. It's super easy. You pick 2 to 5 players in an over-under in their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry, and it's just you versus their projected numbers. You're not playing against other players. You're not competing for a pot of money or anything like that, right? You see the numbers, and you go, I'm going to go above that, or I think this guy's going to do below that. It's that easy. You know the NBA. You can use your sports knowledge with this without trying to find guys that no one else is taking. And entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's really just that easy. And PrizePicks is safe, and they offer fast withdrawals. They got an award-winning app available both on the App Store and Google Play. And any prop you can think of, they've got it. Points scored, rebounds, steals. Make these conference finals a little bit more fun by getting on PrizePicks. They offer all sports when those are in season. Right now, though, we are focused on the NBA. So, for a limited time, PrizePicks has an exclusive no-brainer of an offer for all of our users, all of our listeners. Get $50 for free if a player in your first PrizePick entry scores a single point. But you got to use promo code NBA. That's right. This is an exclusive offer available for Locked On Pelicans fans. Sign up today. Use promo code NBA for $50 for free if a player in your first PrizePick entry scores a single point. Free money right there. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is also brought to you by Built Bar. Built Bar, they got the birthday cake puffs. I've been eating one of these things every day. They sent me a promo box, and they're absolutely awesome. Imagine dipping your fingers into a tub of birthday cake frosting and then opening your eyes and realizing that it was only 150 calories and 16 grams of protein. That's what it's like to eat a birthday cake puff bar from Built. I just received these. I've never had anything like them before. The puff bars are awesome. They're light. They're airy. It's protein-infused marshmallow, and it's healthy for you. And you would have no idea you're eating something that healthy. It is sweet. It is decadent. It tastes like a candy bar, even better than a candy bar, honestly. And it's just delicious flavored marshmallow covered in 100% real chocolate. So make every day your birthday with Built's birthday cake puffs. Look, you got to get it on these now because it's a limited time flavor. Once these are gone, they are gone. And they don't tend to come back for a little while. So if you want to give these a try, they got real sprinkles in them. You want to give them a try. 150 calories, 16 grams of protein, only 9 grams of sugar for this limited time flavor. And all Built bars and Built puffs are covered in 100% real chocolate. That means you can. That means with Built, you can eat healthy and actually enjoy doing it. So go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your next order. Again, use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off over at Built.com. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast 5 days a week, breaking down everything you want to know about the team. Lottery day. We're going to be talking draft because those are the biggest things around the team right now. I'm excited. We'll have some draft experts on too. It's going to be a lot of fun. And now for your next listen, it's actually tonight. Go make sure you're following the Locked On NBA YouTube channel, Locked On NBA. We're going to have a live show on there where we're just doing a lottery hangout. All the lottery hosts are going to kind of be on the stream, hanging out, shooting the breeze. It should be a lot of fun. And then I'm going to give you a live Locked On Pelicans right after. I will be streaming it live when I'm recording. If I screw up, I can't go and edit it or anything like that. Going to be 100% live. So I can see the comments in the chat on YouTube. I can answer those. We'll do a lot of that. It's going to be more interactive of an episode than we've ever had before. So I'm looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun. All right. So we are talking about why today is such a big day for New Orleans. Look, getting this lottery pick, particularly if it jumps into the top 4, game changer for this Pelicans team. And I think there's 5 guys that I really like in this draft. And I went over them in yesterday's episode where I ran down my top 16 prospects on my NBA big board. So what are the chances they move up? If you're a new fan this year, this is probably a little bit new to you. So here's kind of how it works. The NBA lottery is in effect to disencourage tanking. By making it a lottery, it means the team with the worst record doesn't always get the number 1 overall pick. So there's no point in deliberately trying to lose all those games and turning your fans off just to get a better pick. Because you might, but you might not. Now, teams still do it because the odds are kind of weighted. And a couple of years ago, they changed it so the lottery odds are a little bit flat. Now you can jump into the top 4, and it's that simple, right? That's how it goes. So the Pelicans, with the 8th best lottery odds, can jump into the top 4. They cannot get picks 5, 6, or 7. It doesn't work that way. It's only a lottery for the top 4. So you cannot get, if you're the Pelicans, 5, 6, or 7. And this pick, by the way, is from the Lakers. It's part of the Anthony Davis trade. And we do need to do a little episode probably on how David Griffin did everything with these lottery picks, or with these picks he had this year. 2 of them, turning them, just using them in very masterful ways. So the Pelicans have a 6% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick, a 6.3% chance of the 2nd pick, a 6.7% chance of the 3rd pick, and a 7.2% chance of the 4th pick. That gives them a combined 26.3% chance of landing somewhere in the top 4. So basically, they got a 1 in 4 chance of getting a top 4 pick. Whether that's 1, 2, 3, or 4, I could not tell you. And that's kind of how it works. And it literally is a lottery, by the way, if you don't follow this before. There's kind of like a back room that's done before the lottery show where they literally draw ping pong balls. There's 1,000 combinations. Everyone kind of gets doled out a certain amount of combinations just based on your lottery odds. So they've got a 1 in 4 chance of jumping up. They also could drop potentially if teams behind them jump up too. But basically the way it just kind of works right now is the Pelicans' most likely chances of their pick is 34.5% for the 8th overall pick. That's the most likely scenario for them. Second most likely scenario is the 9th overall pick, so actually dropping back a spot at 32.1%. And that means one of the teams with worse odds behind them, right, needs to jump up. So the way it works right now, it's 14 all the way down. It's Cleveland's at 14, Charlotte's at 13, OKC is 12 from the Clippers, New York at 11, the Wizards at 10, San Antonio 9, and the Pelicans with the Lakers pick at 8. So they could drop down to 9 if one of those 6 teams behind them jumps up, strikes gold. Those teams don't have a ton, very great odds. It does drop kind of significantly after the Pelicans. San Antonio, 20% chance. Washington, 14% chance, 13.9. New York is 9.4. The Clippers pick to OKC, 7.1. Charlotte, 4.8. Cleveland, 2.4. So they could drop a little bit. There's a chance of that happening. But most likely, their odds are that they stay at 8 or jump into the top 4 somewhere. It's not bad odds, all things considered, where they are. And so you'll see they do the drawing before in the back room, then they do this whole big presentation with the envelopes and having people on the stage. Swing Cash is going to be there. And last year she did great with kind of the meme faces and everything like that. So hopefully we get to see and have a little bit of fun with that again. And hopefully it turns really well and she ends up in the kind of top 3. There's going to be 2 commercial breaks during this too. So we'll know early on kind of where the Pelicans stand. So you might not need to end up watching the whole thing. But there is a doomsday scenario that's going to make you turn it off within like the first couple of picks. And I'll explain what that looks like. If they don't actually get a top pick, if they don't get this lottery pick and it goes to Memphis, what happened? What does that look like on TV for you to really see? Let's break that down coming up here next, the doomsday scenario. Or if you just want positive vibes, turn it off. But there's some interesting stuff coming up with this one. So let's talk about that coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Before we do that, though, today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by BetOnline.net. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. So you can find the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL future. Saints maybe moving up a little bit after the Jarvis Landry news. So BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, whether it's live betting to getting in on the action to the playoffs. They have esports and a whole lot more. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in the action over at BetOnline.net. BetOnline, where the game starts. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. Don't forget, live Locked On NBA show. We're calling it Hanging Out in the Bar. It's going to be like we're all at a bar having drinks, chatting with each other. It's going to be a lot of fun as we all hang out. Come join us. We'll take questions from the audience too. Come spam them with like Go Pelicans in there and everything. Annoy the hell out of them. That would be so much fun. They'd love it. I would love it even more. So let's do that. And then right after, probably around 7:30 p.m. Central, I'm going to go live on Locked On Pelicans, streaming from the YouTube page. So you can type in the chat. You can follow along with me live in the show. I can see that. I'll answer your questions about whatever happens. Good, hopefully good, or bad. Minuscule chance of that coming up in tomorrow's live edition of Locked On Pelicans. Should be pretty fun. I'm excited for that one. So there is a chance that today, I'm recording this on Monday night, is terrible for the Pelicans. There is a 0.4% chance, 0.4, that they don't get a first round pick this year and that pick goes to Memphis. So that Lakers pick that they have was included in the Steven Adams deal. That was top 10 protected pick. So if it's in the top 10, New Orleans gets it. If it's 11 to 14, and it can't go to 14, the Memphis Grizzlies get it. I don't want to give Memphis that pick. So what does that look like if it is a disaster? So remember what I said about it's a lottery for the top 4. And that's for all 14 teams in lottery, all the teams that didn't make the postseason, including the Lakers, which is how the Pelicans have this one. So since it's a lottery for 4 teams can potentially move up. That'd be a disaster for Houston, Orlando, Detroit, and Oklahoma City, who are the top 4 there. But in theory, you could have 14, 13, 12, and 11 all jump up. And that then pushes all the other teams down. Again, the likelihood of that happening are like astronomically against it. But you never know. And we've seen some crazy things happen. So if one team jumps up from behind New Orleans, there's 6 teams behind them: San Antonio, Washington, New York, OKC with the Clippers pick, Charlotte, and Cleveland. If one of those teams jumps up and the Pelicans don't, it pushes their pick down to 9. Still cool. If 2 teams do it, not very likely, right? There's a 6.7% chance that could happen in this. 6.7 that 2 teams behind the Pelicans jump up. They get pushed down to 10. I'd rather have the 8th pick. I'd rather them jump up. But you know what? They still keep the pick and the 10th pick in this draft. Not a bad place to be after you already made the playoffs and pushed the Phoenix Suns to 6 games. But if a third team does it, that is a disaster, because then that pushes the Pelicans, that Lakers pick, I should say, to 11, which means it doesn't go to New Orleans. It goes to the Memphis Grizzlies instead. That's a doomsday scenario. So basically what this looks like is when they start to read the envelopes off and start to count down from 14, I forget where they stop. It might be those top 6, and they might get to it might be to the top 10 or something like that, right? They might do the first 5, take a commercial break. I don't exactly remember where the break is, but it'll be in the first couple of picks. They're going to show 14. Cool. They're going to start to show 13, right? And that's where things start to get a little bit scary. The 13th pick won't influence New Orleans here, but if you see at 12 the Memphis Grizzlies logo come out of the envelope, that means that the disaster scenario has happened and 3 teams behind New Orleans have jumped up. Same for the 11th pick, right? New Orleans can only move down 4, so they could drop to 9th, 10th, and keep the pick. But then if they they could drop down 4 teams jump up, but they can only drop down 2 spots. So if 3 teams behind him or even 4 teams behind him jump up, that means that pick is going to fall to 11 or 12. And that means that the Memphis Grizzlies get it. So when the 11th and 12th picks come up, we do not want to see a Memphis Grizzlies logo in that envelope on TV, because that means it's a doomsday scenario. That means Memphis is getting the pick. No more lottery luck for New Orleans. That's what it will look like on TV. They will pull out a Memphis Grizzlies logo or a Lakers logo, one of the two. I'm not quite sure. It should be a Memphis Grizzlies logo since that trade is completed. We don't want to see Memphis come up at 11 or 12. That's where the doomsday scenario has come into play. So if you're watching along with the lottery tomorrow, that's what you do not want to see. If you get past 11 and 12, that means New Orleans is for sure getting the pick. You might see that Pelicans logo come out of the envelope at 10, 9, or 8. And if you don't see that, if you don't see the Pelicans at 10, 9, or 8, oh, hell yeah, it's a top 4 pick. We just don't know specifically which one it will be. But 10, 9, 8 is where you would expect to see them at some point. We just don't want to see Memphis Grizzlies at 11 or 12. That's the bad case scenario. As we said in the open of today's show, right? That isn't good, because you want the flexibility to build a sustainable future. And this lottery pick really can be that for New Orleans, or the flexibility to trade it and add to this team. So there you go. No Memphis at 11 or 12. So let me know in the comments down below, what are you doing to create some good luck for the Pelicans? I'll pin that as the comment on there. Let me know on YouTube and on Twitter. As always, I'm your host, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake. And I'll be back with y'all tomorrow for a live show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you tune in. 7:30 Central is probably when we're going to end up doing it. Probably just bookmark that, and I'll set it as a live show that's going to be coming. It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to being there with y'all. Can't wait. Big day. Send me your good luck charms tomorrow on Twitter. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, enjoy it, and I'll be back with you all tomorrow for the live show.